Happy New Year, artists! It's Kelly Folsom here, and welcome back to another Art Life Conversations podcast, where we talk about all things related to our art life, our art journey. So for those of you who weren't here last week, just to kind of catch you up, last week on the podcast, I walked everybody through an end of year reflection journaling process. This is something that I feel is very much tied to our art life journey. This is something I do every single year. I do a very in-depth reflection on my year. It's very much like a spiritual process for me, really. It's like very, very traditional. So I like to really make it special, and set aside some good time for that. So if you haven't done that, I recommend that you do that first and do that reflection process first. Really take your time with it. Sometimes it can even take, a couple of hours to really think through it. And here's the thing, you're worth it. You are worth the time. You are worth the reflection. So listen to me, ladies, mamas, wives, especially. You're worth the time to sit down and do this. So please don't skip that. Please don't skip last week's reflection. It's so, so important. So this week, what I wanted to do is, of course, talking about one of my favorite things, which is goal setting, and specifically goal setting at the beginning of the year. Now, I've already kind of been doing my goal setting. It's funny, I'm a very futuristic thinker, so I am almost always in the future anyway. I don't know if you guys have ever taken like your Gallup, what's it called, the Clifton Strengths test, but my number one strength is futuristic thinking. So this is something that is super fun for me, super exciting. I love it. I love, thinking through the future. But I also recognize that's not really everybody's comfort zone, and that's not everybody's strength. And I really do see it is a strength and it is a skill set. So I want to be able to share some of that skill set and strength with you all here today, and hopefully give you some questions, some really good questions that will help you to think through the next year and really set your goals accordingly. But again, if you haven't done the reflection piece, I highly recommend you do the reflection piece first and then come back and do this. So I think the most important part about this process is that you really try to, as best as you can, try to imagine yourself, December 31st, for example. For that year, it'll be 2022, and really looking through everything that you've done over that year. So really do your best to try to project yourself a year into the future so that you can see who are you? Who are you a year from now? What is it that you would like to accomplish, in that year? What would you love to be proud about? All those questions we answered in the reflection process, basically going back through them and saying, okay, so next year, how do I want to answer that question, right? So that is a perfect way to get clear on what you want this year, how you want this year to go down, how you want it to be, right? So that's why it's also important to go back through that reflection exercise if you haven't done it. So you could go back through all those questions and just say, ask yourself, how do I want to answer this question December 31st, 2022, right? And in that way, because I really do believe we are creating our own realities. And, sometimes you got to take the bull by the horns, right? And create your own reality, right? Otherwise, whenever we don't do this, basically, whatever's happening for us today is going to continue to happen. Whatever habits we have in place, whatever things we're experiencing, unless we really tap into that futuristic goal setting process, probably not much will change. sometimes some good things will happen, sometimes some bad things will happen. Guess what? Those things are going to happen anyway, So I really like to, in a way, what is that? There's a poem that says, I am the captain of my ship. I am the master of my fate. I believe that 100%. I think every single one of us can do that and can be that in this life. And that is something that is definitely a mantra for me. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my ship. And that also means that I'm also responsible for all the negative shit that I let into my life and the ways I let things hold me back as well, right? So with that kind of power, also comes great responsibility as well. So you can start there with the reflection and just asking yourself, how would I want to answer these questions on the reflection sheet in 2022, at the end of 2022. So once you've done that, I really want you to, project yourself forward to December 31st, 2022. And I really want you to imagine, who are you? Who are you? What are you doing in that moment? What do you look like? What are you wearing? How are you feeling? What is your home like? What is your environment like? What is your state of mind? Do you feel powerful? Do you feel peaceful? Do you feel healthy and energetic? Do you feel confident? Really try to project yourself into that space and getting into like a feeling space about it. This is your future self. Starting with the end in mind, it's very similar to creating a painting, right? So when we're creating a painting, we really have to have an idea of what kind of painting we want to create, how we want it to turn out. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that happens along the way during the painting that is kind of out of our control. But if we don't start with that outcome in mind, where we want the painting to end up, what we want the painting to be about, how we want to feel during the painting process, then it's really just kind of left to this sort of whatever happens. So it's very similar to that. So you really want to get into that place where you, what is your highest self say? All of you have inner wisdom. I have inner wisdom. So you really want to tap into your own inner wisdom, your own, who is my highest self? What is she like? What is he like? How does he feel? How is he or she living, right? So first I would journal about that, really, spend some time there and take as much time as you need there. So this is an imagination, right? So using your imagination to really foresee and really, in a way, telling your own future. You don't need a fortune teller. You are your own fortune teller, right? So after you do that, then I would come back and look at, what is the number one goal that you have for yourself this year? And again, this could be for your art as well, but I'm just going to leave it general so that you can use it for whatever purposes you need to. So what is the number one thing that you would like to see happen, that you would like to achieve? So by the end of 2022, December 31st, 11:59 p.m., it's about to be 2023. What is it that you would have liked to have achieved? What is it that you would like to have done that you could feel amazing and expansive and powerful and just I cannot believe I did that. I can't believe it. Oh my gosh, I feel so amazing that is how my year went, that is the top goal, the top thing that I did, right? So that's the kind of energy place that you want to get into, right? Because you don't want to be just stuck in your mind today, right now. because you can't see it from there, right? So you really want to go into the future and see it from there and really feel it, really feel it. Okay. So once you have your top number one goal that you would like to achieve this year, then you're going to ask yourself what specific monthly, weekly, and daily routines, those three, right, do you need to put in place in order to reach that? Okay, so sometimes people set goals and then they don't ever do anything to work towards them, right? And then they forget about the goal that they set. And they say, oh, but I had this goal and I wanted to achieve this thing, but they never started the work. They never started the work towards it, right? So you can't just dream it up. First, you've got to dream it up. Really, you kind of just have to hear it because it's inside of you, right? So you really just have to listen for it and hear it, number one, and feel it. But then you have to put action behind it, right? So you can't say, oh, I've got all these goals, but you're not doing anything towards them. So in order to do that, you're going to have to think ahead right now. You're going to have to make a plan of action right now. What do I need to do weekly, daily, and perhaps monthly? Right? Maybe it's not something you do need to work on every single day. Maybe it is. Maybe it's more of a weekly thing that you need to work on, right? And then I would recommend that you put in a plan for monthly things as well, especially monthly check-ins. Weekly and monthly check-ins, I think, are so critical to achieving our goals. That's what I do. And then, of course, weekly, I'm planning with those goals in mind. And then daily, my goal daily is to win the day, to do the things that day that will contribute to that goal. Okay. But you have to write it down. You have to be specific and you have to write it down, and then you have to get it on your calendar and plan for it. Okay. The next question is, how can you keep yourself accountable? Okay. We all can lose sight of that vision, of that goal pretty easily. We can get caught up in the day-to-day grind, and then we can get into shiny object syndrome and forget what our focus was. We can start looking at other people and start trying to do what they're doing, but that wasn't really our goal. Basically, we can just get into this place where we can't see the forest from the trees, right? So it's also why it's so important to write it all down, keep it all written down. And then make sure you have it in a place that you can review it easily. I would say at least once a month, maybe even more if you lose focus easily. So for me, focus is one of my top strengths as well. So I don't have quite as much of a hard time with focus, but some people do. So you might need to look at it every day. You might need to have it up on your bathroom mirror or somewhere where you can read it. Maybe that's the first thing you read in the morning. Yeah, I mean, that would be helpful for all of us, to tell you the truth. Okay, so think about how you're going to keep yourself accountable. Are you somebody that, for example, are you somebody who does better, if you have a weight loss goal, and you're doing it with a friend? Now, I'm not somebody that really does well with that. Being accountable with other people, it kind of actually drains my energy. I'm very, very good at keeping myself accountable. So I don't really participate in that. I don't really do that because it actually takes more time from me. It takes more energy from me. But you might be somebody who really needs a friend or a partner or a support group to help hold you accountable. So you need to enlist them in your goals. Essentially, you need to get them on board with your goals and what you're trying to do, so that whenever you freaking drop the ball, that that they'll be like, okay, what about your goal? You haven't hit your goal yet. Come on, let's do this. What the heck? Are you just going to give up on your goal? So and that could also be, if you don't have any friends or family in your life that can do that, might also be a coach of some kind. Whether it's a business coach, an art coach, an artist mentor, that's a service that I provide for, my artists, especially in the mastermind mentorship program, is I really, try to be the one to help them stay accountable. Like, what was your number one priority? What was your number one goal? Are you working towards that, or are you getting sidetracked? Like, what the heck's going on? You set a revenue goal. Where are you at on that revenue goal? Are you tracking your revenue? Oh, you're not tracking your revenue? Well, how the heck are you going to know if you reached your revenue goal or not? So sometimes, so you need to think about that. Like, how are you going to hold yourself accountable? Will you post it online, perhaps, or make it public? Maybe you start a blog about it, to make it public, or start posting on your social media to make it public. How are you going to hold yourself freaking accountable to this goal? Because you will, from time to time, lose focus. You will lose motivation. You will lose commitment from time to time, right? And you're going to have to be able to regenerate that so that you can give yourself momentum. If you start losing momentum, my friend, that dream is going to die. That goal is going to die. So you must maintain your momentum at all times. And sometimes we have to enlist the help of others. A lot of the times we have to do that and get support from others to do that. Okay. Now, when you do lose focus, miss the mark, right? When you do drop the ball, when you do fall short, which you will, and I will, nobody is perfect, right? So myself included. And so I too, I drop the ball, I miss the mark, I have failures and I get discouraged about them. And then we all go into this mopey place, right? In this victimhood place, right? So when that happens, because it's going to happen, so you might as well plan right now. In fact, they've done studies for people who actually plan for those obstacles and plan for the disappointments that will come their way, the disappointing emotions, the disappointing failures, the disappointing screw-ups. They've done studies that people who actually plan on how they're going to deal with that are more successful, right? So right now you need to plan. When that happens, I say when because it is a when. It's not an if, it's a when. It can happen tomorrow. It can happen next week. It can happen 3 months from now. You never know when it's going to happen, right? So when it happens, what are you going to promise yourself you will do? I promise myself I will do this. This is the thing that's going to help me get out of that rut the most. So it could be, when I miss a mark, I promise myself I will reach out to my friend, reach out to my partner for help, reach out to my coach or my mentor for help. I promise myself that I will not beat myself up, that I will not go into victimhood and self-pity, which you might not be able to promise yourself that. So but think about something. What is it that could really get you refocused again? Whether that's that accountability partner or that coach or that mentor, or maybe it is, I promise myself that I will recommit to my goals, reread my goals, recommit and start again fresh the next day. So what is it looking ahead when you miss the mark, when you fall down and have a hard time or lose focus? What are you going to promise yourself you're going to do? And then what rewards will you give yourself along the way for, you need to set milestones, sort of achievement milestones on your goal. And I would say, nothing less than quarterly. I think, every 90 days, having kind of breaking up that big annual goal into 90-day goals is really where it's at. And then making sure that you reward yourself. Now, you could reward yourself in different ways. You could reward yourself weekly. By doing self-care things like, maybe it's massages, maybe it's getting your nails did, things like that. You can reward yourself weekly, monthly, quarterly, but really think about that, because that's kind of, that gets exciting. Like, oh, when I accomplish this, this is what I'm going to do. Okay. So think that through. And then, of course, I would have like a big reward at the end of the year after you've accomplished or whenever you do that thing, whenever you accomplish your goal. And last but not least, and then I will leave you with this question is, how will you feel about yourself when you accomplish that goal? So coming back around, right? Circling back around to the beginning of this session. And now that we've gone through the actual goal setting process, and it's maybe feeling a little more real, it's feeling a little more concrete to you, you've made a plan, you've developed a plan. So now you want to ask yourself, how will I feel about myself when I do accomplish this goal? And I would write down like at least 3 words. You may not, you might write like paragraph long stuff. That's fine too. For me, I tend to think, well, I'm going to feel powerful. I'm going to feel confident. I'm going to feel abundant. I'm going to feel self-assurance, right? So sometimes it's just a word. And then I like to take those words and put it somewhere where I can see it every single day, or find something that is a symbol of that thing. So for example, I have the sculpture Nike, right? The goddess of victory. I have her on the door in my bathroom. And so, well, TMI, but every time I'm using the bathroom, I see the goddess of victory, and I say, I'm her. I'm a goddess of victory. Every time I'm in the bath, every time I come out of the shower, there she is, goddess of victory. So those kinds of reminders daily, are really super freaking powerful, because it reminds you of that feeling place. This is how I'm going to feel. This is what I'm stepping into every day. And actually, I want to feel this way every single day. I want to feel like Nike, the goddess of victory, right? Anyway, so I will leave you with that last thought and that final idea in case you want to take that and run with it for yourself. But to all of you, my art friends, I'm wishing you everything that you can dream of for yourself this year in 2022. So much abundance for you, so much success, so much joy, health, peace, prosperity, love, right? Confidence, power, victory, right? I'm wishing you all of that this year in 2022. And I'm thankful to all of you for allowing me to be a part of your art journey, and you being a part of my art journey as well. I love this collaboration in these conversations. So I just want to say thank you so much to each and every single one of you. And, and if you need somebody on your side that's there to support you, and I'm the right fit for you, then, I'm here. I'm here to help. So you can always go to artlifewithkelly.com and see what kinds of instruction and coaching options are available to you as well. So be sure to check that out. Okay, I will see you next week. And feel free to let me know any insights you guys come across on the social media comments. You can also email info@artlifewithkelly, KELLI.com. And feel free to share your insights from these journal practices. All right, everybody, happy 2022. Bye.